it comes to all this stuff. Like they also have graphics on here, and then they have overlays. Now I'm gonna name this one ARPA 2, and I'm gonna make it full screen. And we can do it that way. Okay, here we go. So this is what we've got right here. And I can probably go ahead and just do it as background.
You might want.
You're going.
Oh no. It was just my screen. Yeah, it looks okay.
Okay. All right. So this is basically what you've got right there. That's the map of it. Now this is for today, or is this originally but when it first started?
This is the concept as it was in 1973.
Okay, so I found one that's for 1977.
Okay, so
now I can add.
That much difference between the two, but there will be some differences.
Yeah. Now I can turn around. I can pull that one up too here in a minute. I've got that one uploaded, and all I can do is switch them around because this is actually pretty interesting. You've got this in 1973. Like, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it's dated for.
So we have that one, and then this is what it would look like in 4 years. ARPA. Dude, this actually should have been ARPA 2, and the one right there. This one should have been ARPA 1, and then this next one should have been ARPA 2.
There's been a couple of versions between 1967 and 19.
You see that?
Yeah. Oh, I have to move it down to my smaller screen.
Now
okay, so they've changed the name.
Yeah, and it's a logical map, apparently. I think that's different. No, that's a logical map, too.
Yeah. I'm just comparing the... Do you want to switch back to the other one?
Yeah.
Comparing the numbers, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Big difference. ETAC down there, and then the pop 10 right there. You see all that?
But you've got PDP. Is PDP or PLP? Pop 10 on the other one. Yeah, there.
PDP 15 and PDP 10. Now down up on in that same area, it says PDP 10, and then
it's exactly the same. Yes, so in essence, nothing has really changed.
Now there's
more.
Yeah, there's more added.
Yes, that.
More added. That's the thing that really stood out to me, because like whenever I seen the one you just showed, it looks like it expanded a bit more right there, up in this area right here on the left hand side. Well, actually, all over the place. To be honest with you, that's huge. Well, no, it's pretty interesting. It really is.
But point being that the concept was ever moving until 90? I don't know when. Well, I suppose technically the internet became, the web became the internet, so to speak, in 93, 94. So web first Netscape Navigator released its first version in 92. Or Mozilla, the original Mozilla, released it in 92.
there was something, in our last time trying to do this, there was something that I really should have gotten started out with that I failed to do until later when Mr. Robot came in. But I really think that it should have been brought up earlier after I mentioned it. But um, we were talking about freaking hold up, what was the name of that that company that was out? Let me I've got to find it. I can pop down
Hang
here.
on. Company doing what?
We were talking about CDK, no CDK
CDK.
Global and all that.
Yeah, the car people. Yeah.
But before I got into that, what I should have been doing is actually discussing another company that was first before we got into that because um, they're they're CompuServe.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, when we were talking, and like at this phase right here, that is something that was actually important that really should have been brought up, like how CompuServe actually played a part when it came to early internet users. You know what I'm saying? Um,
I would argue on the especially in Europe, not so much in the US, but in Europe, TV things like teletext, Oracle, the French national version, which I can never remember the name of, those telex TV systems were probably the first thing that the average person would have in Europe, at least, would have in far as the internet. Um, Arguably for um, so-called geeks and people that were interested, 78, 79, so CompuServe, BBX systems,
that was
and
back in
other, yeah,
1969, and they started out as a time sharing and remote access
yeah.
service. Uh, they were
But
marketing
it
operation.
wasn't really. It, 82, I would argue, in both in UK and US, that BBS systems became popular in society at large.
Now, the whole thing about CompuServe, though, that you have to understand, this became so notorious, okay, that people. This is where a lot of the conspiracies about Radio Shack came out of, and H&R Block. And I know a lot of people today haven't heard about all that, but like with Radio Shack, back in
Tandy in the UK. Yeah, Radio Shack was labelled under and branded on Tandy in the UK.
Mhm. And that's where Radio Shack actually hit big was back in 1979
Yeah,
because CompuServe ended up
but
selling.
Radio Shack really got popular because of its so-called boom boxes and other hi-fi equipment at the time.
Yeah, but it was pretty strange because like now people don't know, okay, but like people our age, we know like
And also remember
Radio Shack
back
was
in,
like.
I think, 80, 81, they introduced their own computer, 8-bit computer. I think it was called the Tandy.
Yeah, I think so. Hmm.
Yeah. They had an 8-bit computer, but it didn't last as long as, let's say, the Commodores and the BBCs. But it lasted something like 4 or 5 years before all software development was ceased.
Hmm. And with Radio
Yeah,
Shack, I mean, the amount of growth they had was amazing because it was like here in the United States, we always talk about that with a convenience store called Circle K. Like Circle
yeah,
K is on every corner, and that was the way Radio Shack was. There was a Radio Shack pretty much in every freaking town. and not just cities. I'm talking every town.
Uh, Candy, the UK subsidiary company, was extremely popular, but it was also popular because of hire purchase agreements. You could, um, well, hire rent your TV or your radio, um, buy it on lease from them.
Now,
So they had a real big sort of quite a few companies were doing that sort of practice at the time, but that's high buy on buy to lease contracts is what made them very popular in the UK.
and then when you stop and think about it, like in 1980, okay, that's when H&R Block ended up buying freaking Radio Shack, and then um, CompuServe started dominating the industry all through the 1980s. They even bought their competitor, the Source, out.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's three competitors, or two competitors. I can never remember the name of the of one, Metra, something I can't remember. But also AOL. This is where AOL started in the business as well. They in the
Yeah,
80s, but obviously they didn't really get popular until they became a more internet thing back in 90. They were extremely early on the market. They were 94 or 90, no, 96, I think.
yeah, and
And they were,
now it's also worth noting that this is also where when you're talking about AOL and everything, this is also the beginnings of the World Wide Web. You
yeah,
know,
but AOL also did BBS systems beforehand.
but you know what I'm saying, though. It was like
Yeah,
this. This
but
was
but,
like
but AOL jumped onto the web market quite quickly. But it was originally a another CompuServe dial-up service.
now the one big
Well,
thing. The one big thing that has to also be pointed out is something that you were mentioning about chatting. CompuServe was basically an online chat system by the
yeah.
time the 90s came, and that's why. Well, I'm presuming that's
Um,
why you were talking about you
in
had chat.
in Europe, I was talking about the telex system, but
Yeah.
services like Prestel came to market, and they were sort of really insular sort of BBS systems, much more common in Europe than in the US.
Now the other one I believe you were talking about, other than American Online, it was also Prodigy. Prodigy was another of the big.
Yeah. I can never. Yeah.
And now now after you get into AOL, you start seeing the rise of like the modern systems, the stuff that everybody's used to now with the one with the
I don't know. AOL for a long time, throughout the 90s, late 90s, and throughout the 2000s, they were using their sort of own closed, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a browser, but their own closed application,
now
weren't they?
the,
They weren't really using, they used, for a long time, AOL used Netscape, for as a subsidiary sort of browser when we were looking at pages, but a lot of AOL's appeal was that one single interface that you could pick up emails and chats and do other things in.
well, see, this is the thing that what I'm coming up with, and a lot of people miss out on this because they don't remember it all that well. But you remember WorldCom, don't you?